We moved to Texas after I got a big promotion. It was a huge step up for me and my family. New city, new chapter. The apartment we found wasn't perfect, but it had 3 bedrooms, so everyone had their own space. My wife Lauren and I shared the master. Our daughter Mag had her own room, and our son Brett got the smaller one. It wasn't ideal, but I told myself it was just for now. The complex looked worn down, and it had a weird feeling to it. There was a lot of people hanging out at odd hours. Some looked like they were drug dealers. Others just stood around staring like they had nowhere else to be. The kind of place you keep your head down, but money was tight after the move, and we needed a roof over our heads. We told the kids not to go out without us. Brett was only 10, Mag was only 13, and we didn't trust this area. One afternoon, the kids asked if they could go outside to draw on the sidewalk with chalk. I could see them from the window. After a long talk with Lauren, I agreed. Just this once. I told Mag to keep her eyes on Brett, and under no circumstances should they talk to strangers. They ran with their box of chalk excited. Lauren and I stayed inside cleaning. I kept glancing out the window every few minutes. Then around 15 minutes later, I froze. A man was standing next to them, not doing anything at first, just standing, but too close, too still. I rushed outside fast, heart pounding, trying not to panic. When I got there, the man looked up and smiled. He introduced himself as Craig.
Just admiring their drawings,
He said calmly.
Very talented kids. Their pictures of fish and hearts look super realistic.
His voice sent chills down my spine, but he looked normal enough though. Jeans, t-shirt, maybe in his 40s. But something about him didn't feel right. His eyes didn't match his smile. I asked the kids if they talked to them. They said no. They seemed confused more than scared, so I didn't press it. The man gave one last nod, then turned and walked away slowly. That night, we tried to move on. We locked all the doors. I even double-checked the windows, just in case. But around 4 a.m., Mag came into our room whispering, "Dad? There's noises coming from my closet." At first, I figured Brett was messing around. He liked pulling these little pranks, especially on his older sister. Or maybe something just fell over. Still, I told Lauren to go back to sleep and followed Mag to her room. She pointed to the closet door. I didn't hear anything right away. I opened it fast to catch Brett by surprise if he was hiding. But it wasn't Brett. It was him. That same man, Craig. Crouched inside the closet, sitting crisscrossed in the dark like he lived there. He had paper scattered around him and he was just drawing. But these weren't just any drawings. He was drawing fish and hearts, and right under said "Love Craig" to Brett and Mag. He looked up at me like he's been expecting me. "Do you like them?" he said quietly. "I made them for the kids." That's when I lost it. I grabbed him and slammed him down hard, yelling for Lauren to call the cops. She screamed and rushed into the room. The kids were sobbing. I held him down as he laughed under me, even as I pinned his arms to the floor. The cops came fast, but it felt like forever. They dragged him out in handcuffs. He didn't fight. He didn't yell. He just stared at Mag and Brett the whole time like he was just watching over them. The police said he broke in through the back door, used some sort of force to open the lock. They found more chalk stuffed in his backpack and a folded up layout of our apartment complex. He had circled our unit. We didn't sleep that night or the next. The kids started waking up from nightmares. Lauren jumped at every little sound. We broke the lease early and left. I didn't care about the deposit. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted my family out of there. But sometimes, even now, Mag said she still hears scratching in her closet, and Brett refuses to draw with chalk anymore. I never thought something like this would happen to me. I'm not the kind of person who goes out much. I mostly stay home, play games, watch shows, and keep to myself. My roommate Tav was the opposite. We've been friends for a long time, but he's always been a partier. Loud, energetic, always wanting people around. Our apartment wasn't anything fancy, just a small 2-bedroom place in a decent complex. Nothing crazy about it, until this happened. One night, Tav came back from a party with this guy named Max. I didn't think much of it. Tav always brought people over, and most of the time they were cool. But Max was different, but not in a shy way. More like he was watching everything, every move, every word. He barely spoke, and when he did, his voice was soft and strange, like he was talking to himself more than us. He had this weird habit of just standing in corners, like not sitting on the couch with us, not talking, just standing there, still, eyes wide, like he was listening to something we couldn't hear. I asked Tov about him, and he just laughed. He's weird, but harmless, he said. He's just tripping. A few days later, Max came over again. Tov had invited a couple of friends, and they were drinking, laughing, just doing their thing. I stayed in my room for most of it, but around 1 a.m. I stepped out for some water. Max was sitting at our kitchen table alone, in the dark, no lights on, just sitting. I said, "Hey," but he didn't respond, didn't even look at me. I wasn't about to start asking questions and figured this was Tov's problem, so I just went back to bed. The next morning, when we woke up, Max was gone. Tov thought he just left early and said it's no big deal, but I had this weird feeling, like something was off. Tov texted him later just to check in. No reply. Tried again the next day. Still nothing. About a week passed. I started hearing sounds above my room at night, like light scraping or quiet thumps. I thought maybe a raccoon got in the attic somehow. Our ceiling even started getting this wet brownish stain near the hallway. I figured it was a leak, so we called the apartment maintenance. When the guy showed up, he looked tired and annoyed, probably expecting some basic pipe issue. He brought a ladder and popped open the attic hatch in the hallway. The air that came down was foul, like old garbage, sweat, and something worse. He climbed up and shined his flashlight around. We stood below watching. About 30 seconds in, he suddenly screamed, like a full, terrified scream. He scrambled back down the ladder and almost fell. His face was pale, and he was shaking. "There's someone up there," he shouted. "There's a man living in your attic." At first, we thought he was joking, but he was serious. He said there was beer bottles, empty chip bags, and a plastic bucket of water. "He's been bathing up there," he said, "living up there." We called 911 immediately. Luckily, our complex had regular patrols, so officers were already nearby. Within minutes, 3 of them arrived. They went up with their flashlights and tasers drawn. A few minutes later, we heard yelling, movement. Then they dragged someone down. It was Max. His clothes were dirty and torn. His face was sunken and pale, but he was smiling. This wide, crooked smile that made my stomach twist. His eyes darted around. He was still drunk or high. He had been living with us for days, watching us through cracks in the vents. There was small holes in the ceiling panels we hadn't even noticed. He had a stash of food up there too, stuff we thought we'd lost or miscounted. I felt sick. The officers asked if we wanted to press charges. Hell yes, we did. They took him away, but I still don't sleep the same anymore. Sometimes when I'm done in the apartment, I think I hear something above, a creak, a breath. I know it's probably just a building settling, but I check the attic every week now, just in case. We don't bring strangers over anymore. We learned the hard way. Some people don't leave when the party ends. Some stay behind. Some hide. And they wait. After graduating college, I didn't have much money. I was broke, alone, and just wanted a quiet place to call my own. The only company I had was my pet lizard Charmander. He was calm, quiet, and never gave me trouble, unlike most people I know. I searched online for something cheap. That's when I found it. A 1-bedroom apartment, quiet, detached, private, $650 a month. The ad had a few pictures. It looked nice. Too nice for that price. It was a small place built over someone's garage behind a bigger home. It looked like a guest house, fully detached from the main building. I thought it was a scam at first, but I called the number anyways. A woman answered. Her name was Robin. She sounded older, soft-spoken, and kind. We set up a time for a tour. When I arrived, she was outside. She wore an oversized sweater and smiled a lot, but barely made eye contact. Still, the place was perfect. Hardwood floors, a tiny but clean kitchen, and it felt quiet. I signed everything electronically the next day. She emailed me the lease and the lock code. The apartment was mine. The first 3 months were great. I set up Charmander's new tank in the living room and put soft blue lights in it. I didn't have much furniture, but I made it my home. I worked during the day and came home at night. to sit on the couch and watch movies with Charmander by my side. It was peaceful until it wasn't. One night, around 2 or 3 in the morning, I woke up needing to pee. I didn't bother turning on any lights. The moon was bright enough to guide me. I stumbled into the bathroom, half asleep, but something strange stopped me. There was a light, a soft flicker coming from the bathroom floor. At first, I thought it was my eyes playing tricks on me, but then I got closer. There was a small crack between 2 of the wooden floorboards. Something was moving underneath. A faint orange glow like the same kind from a flashlight. I got down on my knees and put my face close to the crack. What I saw made my skin go cold. It was the garage below me, perfectly visible through the hole, and directly under the hole was a ladder, propped up as if it had been placed there on purpose. I backed away, heart racing, nearly slipping as I ran to grab my shoes. Was someone spying on me? Had someone been down there the whole time? I stormed out of the apartment and rushed over to Robin's front door. I banged on it hard. No answer. I banged again. Still nothing. Lights off, house completely still. After a few more minutes, I gave up. I walked back to the apartment, my chest tight, trying to make sense of it. But the second I opened the door, I froze. Robin was inside, sitting on my couch, holding Charmander. She didn't say anything at first. She just stared at me with wide, tired eyes. Then finally, she said she let herself in while I was gone, and that she can explain. I shouted at her to leave. I told her I'd call the police. Her expression didn't change. She slowly placed Charmander on the floor, stood up, and walked past me without saying a word. No apology, nothing. She left the door open behind her. I didn't sleep that night. As soon as I could, I rented a U-Haul online. I didn't know where I was going, but I didn't care. I just knew I wasn't staying another second in that place. By noon, I was packing the last of my boxes. I had to keep checking over my shoulder. Every time a floorboard creaked, I nearly dropped what I was holding. Then I opened the front door and found an envelope on the mat. There was no name, no writing on the front. I opened it. Inside was a folded note that said, "Please don't tell anyone about this." And next to it was 3 months rent in cash. Crisp, flat bills, counted perfectly. I stood there for a long time. I wanted to call the police. I really did. But I also needed the money. I had no job lined up, no backup plan. So I didn't say anything. I left, found another apartment on the other side of town, and never looked back. Sometimes I think about that night, about how long that hole had been there in the floor, about whether she'd been watching me through it, how many nights she'd been in the garage just sitting there, waiting. I could have pressed charges. I could have made a report, but I didn't. And now we'll never know how far she really went.